Behind me is one of the world's most extreme sailing machines. She's been built for weeks or even months in Antarctica and some of the most remote areas of the world. It was created by designer Tony Castro, a collaboration with the owner, Chilean entrepreneur and adventurer Nicolas Ibanez, and sailor and expedition leader Skip Novak. Skip has spent more than 33 seasons sailing in the Antarctica and high latitudes, and he gives us an extraordinary tour of this amazing boat.
Right, okay, we're going to do a little deck tour first, and then we'll go below afterwards, but I'm going to explain exactly the concept of this quite particular boat here. First of all, it's a 77-foot aluminium, what we call a schooner. We have twin rigs, 2 masts, the same height. So the mainsails are in fact interchangeable. If something happens to the foremast, foresail, we can swap the mizzen out on that one. And up forward, we'll see later, we've got 3 headsails. We've got 135% high clued Genoa, 100% high clued Yankee, and then a staysail blade, which is also a storm sail. So we've got everything rigged. There's nothing about, putting up a storm sail in the middle of a gale. We've got everything ready to go up there. A big sail, middle sail, and then a very small storm sail, which doubles as a staysail. And so the cockpit here is quite particular. You won't see this type of cockpit on any boat of this size, really. And the big difference is it's not really a cockpit with seats where you sort of sit back and then lean over and do a winch. All the winches here are at this height, so you can, when you're grinding, and if you can imagine you're on the leeward side now and there's water rushing by, you've got a really good, support, ergonomic support grinding away. You're not reaching over like that over a seat. So this is an extremely safe cockpit, and we've got 4 winches either side, because we've got staysail, headsail, preventer, mizzen preventer, running backstays, all come back to here, and furling lines for the 3 headsails. And the other particular thing about this layout, which I'm famous for, is everything is manual. On a 77-foot boat, normally this would all be push-button technology. That's not my game at all. This has to be manual for the type of places we go. We're operating down in Antarctica, South Georgia, Patagonia. There's no marine services to fix anything. Secondly, the people who come on the boat who help us sail the boat, which are the guests or the film team or the science team, they're all participating as a team with the sailing crew. There could be sailors, but usually amateurs who maybe know nothing about sailing. So you can't have those sort of people pushing buttons at random. Everything has to be manual. That's the safest way to run. And because we've got 2 rigs and the sail areas are broken up, everything is manageable manually. So we've got, even the biggest headsail, one person can grind that in, one person could furl it up on the furling line system on that side. Steering position here, you've got a clear view over the bow, and we've actually got some removable plinths where you're going to be standing up at this level. So if you're navigating in ice, you'll be steering like this. Really good view over the bow. And then the beauty of this whole thing is that we've got an undercover area here. So this hatch slides, so we can get maybe 6 or 8 people under here, undercover, from down below without having to put foul weather gear on. And that's important, if people are feeling a bit queasy, they don't want to get completely dressed and with a life jacket on and all that rigmarole, they can sit here in complete safety and get a bit of fresh air and look at the horizon and all that type of thing. So it's a great place with, a lot of boats have a small cuddy where it's sort of like ends here, and of course waves come across and you'd be just dripping water all over the place. You'd have to be kitted up. Whereas this one, you can come out like this and be totally dry, and you can get a whole bunch of people here, a whole bunch of people on that side, and it's a great area. This is all the 3 8-man life rafts under here, and this is a float-free box. It's fairly light, with all hydrostatically released, 3 times 8-man. We've got a bit of a table here, which is an evolution, and then look back here, we've got a Bombard C5 inflatable off the davits, and we can also hoist that dinghy up on the foredeck as well. So we can actually have 2 of these boats operating at one time which is especially important for film teams and science projects. They like 2 boats for people doing, and especially for divers as well. And then here we got all the furling lines come to here, the 3 furlers for the staysail, the jib, and the Yankee. All color coded. Okay. So we've got these 2 Bombay doors here. These lifelines unclip, these come up, fold right up, and then underneath here you've got a swim ladder that goes over the side, and the 2 spools of 150 meters polypropylene floating line that you can run out with the dinghy and tether to the shore and hold the stern in position and a tight anchorage. We've got 2 lines up in the front as well, the same story, so you get 4 lines ashore and anchor down most of the time. Then under here you got a whole bunch of interesting things. You've got, for example, here, this is now dedicated garbage stowage, both sides. We have 3 60-liter barrels in each compartment, and that's all drained to the outside so we can wash those out. But basically all the vegetable waste, which we have to keep in places like Antarctica and South Georgia, go in these barrels, and then we dump those over the side when we're north of the polar front. So that's a big capacity there. And there you've got your gas bottle stowage under there. And we've got about, I don't know, 50 kilos of gas. Then under here, that's access to the lazarette, and that's all our dive gear. You can see 10 bottles, and we'll take a tour under there later, but there's a compressor under there and a freezer. And you could also access the lazarette from here down a ladder, but if you want to take anything out, and we keep the outboards under that as well, hoik them up on with a handy billy. Okay, we'll take a walk forward now. We'll just talk about the sail control systems up on the mizzen and also on the middeck, okay? So, another particular thing about this, it's almost like a tall ship. You have to actually go aloft to manipulate the mizzen halyard and the mizzen staysail halyard. So somebody would have to come up here. We've got a safety line here you'd clip into in a big seaway. And stand here, and this is your mizzen main halyard, and this is where somebody would have to be up here when you reef. The reefing lines, the clew lines all go down under here, down to a central winch in the cockpit, but somebody has to be here to clip in the tack line and tighten the halyard. On the other side is the mizzen staysail halyard as well. So if we move forward here now to the middeck, another functional area. Everything on this boat is functional. And this is another really, what I think is a very safe place to work for reefing the main mast and do everything up here, because you're not, on a lot of boats, you're standing up at this level over the lifelines. Down here, you're down at the working deck level, okay? And we've got a whole bunch of things here. You've got your coffee grinder, big 3-speed grinder, and that does a whole bunch of things. We do use the coffee grinder to do the hoist on the main sail, and also we got it rigged up. We can also hoist the mizzen sail, so you can get 2 people on this thing to do the initial hoist, and then after that it goes to the winches on the mast for reefing. And then normally this one is going to be used for all the clew lines. We got 4 reefs on the foremast and 3 reefs on the aft mast. Those are your clew lines, and they go to this winch. So the main halyard here, clew lines here. But that's not all. This is also designed for even for mooring lines. We could run a dock line through that bollard there on the rail, through this tunnel to a snatch block here, and that goes to the mizzen. So if you have to warp yourself into a dock, pull yourself in and out, you'd have a line hooked up to the dock and through here to the grinder, so you'd be able to grind in, ease it out. And we could also use this in case you lost your anchor chain and anchor in a complete fiasco and had to blow the chain off. We have a spare anchor rod as well, spare anchor, and you'd run your nylon anchor rod to this winch from the bow through a couple snatch blocks on some flush pad eyes here. So this thing is really a multi-purpose winch, does a lot of stuff. And obviously for hoisting people aloft, you use the grinder as well on the Genoa halyard. We've got a pretty clear foredeck space, and as I said, the other Bombard inflatable would go from there. up to this hatch, and we've got tie-down points on these flush pad eyes here to strap it down with ratchet straps, so we could have 2 dinghies in operation. Put over the side with a Genoa halyard. Got 2 Genoa halyards. 2 spinnaker poles. You'll see here they're actually called what we call Genoa Poles on the mast, and that's for hoiking out either pulling out a jib with a main, or if we're really running downwind for any length of time, especially in a strong seaway, big seaway, we take the mainsails down completely and have 2 Genoa high-clued Yankees pulled out on both sides. So we'd have the 100% of the middle sail and about 60% of the bigger sail pulled out. That's a great way to sail downwind because all the center of effort is pulling you along, very easy on the autopilot. You have no booms to worry about in flying jibes and all sorts of mishaps. And as the wind increases, you just keep rolling up the sail, easing the pulls forward like that until you're almost on a clew patch. And you can go like that in 40 knots of breeze downwind. So it's another one of our particular things we do. And here we've got a big 4-hatch. That's 900 millimeters square. Big heavy forge, and that's our forepeak down below. When we see the interior tour, you can have a look at that. And then our windlass, and you can see that the anchor is actually, once again, not typical. It's offset. It's not actually on the bow, but we've set it off to one side. And that's because quite often down south we'll pull the bow right into an ice shelf, motor ahead, and people will jump off the bow to do whatever they have to do there. So instead of having the anchor crunch up into the ice, the bow takes most of the load. And so when we deploy this anchor, we always have to have a strop, a big nylon anchor strop on it to take the load of the chain, or else the chain will chafe on the bow. So that's fundamental. And we've got bollards, big bollards for docking, another 2 amidships and 2 back aft. So we're pretty well set up. So you can take a dock line to that windlass, so you can take a dock line to the grinder in the mid deck, and you can take a dock line to the winches on the fingers in the aft cockpit as well. Let's take a tour down below. Going to start up at the pointy end here. This is the forepeak, and this is where our bulk stowage is. We have 2 inflatable boats. If we're crossing the Drake or in heavy seaways, those would be deflated. Everything down below. Outboards go in the lazarette, which we'll show you in the end. And this is, things like these barrels for general boat equipment, or if mountaineers come on board, every mountaineer gets a barrel to put all his sharps in, his crampons, his ice axes, to keep it out of the cabins. We've got these racks for fruit and vegetable stowage here. This is all going to be filled with potatoes, carrots, oranges, apples. That go for 6 weeks like that with fresh. And spare anchor there, Rockner 70 kilo. We've got 150 meters of 14 millimeter chain in the chain locker, and forward to that is 150 meters of nylon anchor rod as well. So on a big project like a science project or a film project, this will be chock-a-block full, basically. And you've got, as you saw from the deck, a big 90 by 90 centimeter hatch to lift big boxes and pellet cases through like this. And this is an unheated section, okay? This is a cool section here, and the heated section starts here in the workshop. We've got a work surface here and tools, and on that side, spare parts, nuts and bolts, inventory, all sorts of things under the floor. And we've got another big booster heater under here. So if we're doing, let's say, a dive project, or we've got a lot of wet foul weather gear, we're gonna string these up over the overhead, close that door, close this door, and this gets pumped full of hot air, so this will be very hot to do a quick dry for that type of thing, okay? And then, of course, the rest of the boat is heated by radiators, which you'll see. So now we're going to go down the central corridor. And then, keep in mind, this is a charter layout. There's no owner's cabin, massive owner's cabin. It's all symmetrical, 6 cabins. So here are the smallest cabins up forward here, which is basically 2 single bunks. And plenty of stowage still, boot lockers, and it's got a radiator in each cabin, a fan, lights, USB charging stations, etc. Along the corridor, we hang all our foul weather gear, so the foul weather gear doesn't go into the cabins. It stays, you get dressed out here in the corridor to keep the cabins dry. So all this stuff gets hung on hooks over here, okay? And then further aft we've got the mid cabins. Once again symmetrical side to side, and that's a fairly reasonable sized double. If you're still in love, you can call that a double. And a single above. Same story with all the amenities, pockets for small items, and all kitted out for a lot of places to stow things. Okay, boot lockers and all that. And then further back still, and you can see foul weather gear everywhere. So this is, it's a nice place to put your foul weather gear on, because you're always, you're leaning against something. You're not in a big space flying around. So it's actually, it looks tight, but that's for a purpose. Okay. And then here you got your toilet compartments. Let's go in here and have a look. Very spacious, big shower heads, electric toilets. There's even a seat here that you could sit down and have a shower if you're in a rolling seaway. Big radiators here. It's actually nice and toasty there. So this is quite an evolution, I have to say. We got saltwater tap as opposed to pressure fresh, hot and cold. Yeah, every cabin, every compartment has natural ventilation, obviously. Remember on the deck there was the, near the coffee grinder, those two big fingers either side of the mast. That's actually a dorade box, that whole thing. And in each cabin we've got a little pocket to keep that, so if it's a really howling gale and there's a risk of actually going beam on or worse, we can totally shut that dorade system down by this plastic cap here in each compartment, so it's absolutely watertight. Okay, got your mid cabins, then the last two cabins back here are the biggest. These are the biggest doubles. Single above, and this one here we've got on block and tackle to, we can actually lift it up to give you even more room underneath, and also, this will be, if a couple is in here, this will be storage on top, and you could hoik it up so it's all secure. Okay, this is the enclosed pilot house here, and this is like a multifunctional area and also a lounge as well. One thing I have to mention about this boat, there's a lot of different places to go and get away from other people, because if we're on a long expedition, let's say 30, 40 days, it's nice to be able to separate yourself every now and again. So you could either be in your cabin, or you could be up here lounging around, or you could be back in the main saloon, which you'll see, or you could be under cover in the outside cockpit. So there's a lot of ways to get away and get your own space, which is not true of every boat of 77 feet. So this is all your navigation suite here, a proper chart table where you can get a British Admiralty chart folded at least half on the chart table, which is quite unique today because everything's digital. But where we go, we have to have a full suite of paper charts. And then you've got safety equipment in these lockers, flares, medical equipment under here. You notice all the life jacket stowage is all visible. It's not packed away. Everybody gets a number, and then they get their life jacket, and they put their life jackets on up here in the pilot house, and then they take them off and not in the cabins. And underneath here you've got stowage under all the cushions, and it's a great place. And basically we've got two of these things. We call them the Zimmer frames. And in port, normally these would be down below in a bracket in the workshop, so you'd have more floor space to walk around. But when we're at sea, this is really useful because you got something to hang on to. You can imagine if being chucked from here to there, it's a pretty big space. So we got two of these. When it's really rough, we put the other one on. So this guy who's navigating, he can hold himself on, and people on this side, on port tack, they can sit here with their feet here and be fully supported and comfortable and rest, and that's important because if you get launched from here to there, you're going to hurt yourself. And we've also got here chart stowage under there, and then this here is all the emergency cutoff switches for the engine room. We can cut fuel and air to the engine room and blow the fire extinguisher as well. And engine controls here, stop and start around the corner, twin engines. So it's a functional area, but you can probably fit 6 or 8 people in this area while you're sailing along, and it's the most popular area on the boat because you got a full view. So we should go down below. Well, this is the spacious, I would say, main saloon on the boat, and it's a communal area, so a lot of things happen in here, en suite altogether. We've got a communications area, seating for 12, 13, 14 people, big library, and a galley. So here you've got your comms area with all your Inmarsat stuff and Iridium, and a desk space for 2 people to sit at and work, you know, with the film teams and the science guys. You know, in the evening you're going to have people, 8, 9 people here with the laptops going and charging systems. So we've got plugs everywhere. We've got plugs here, plugs in each corner. So this is a very comfortable area. This, when you're at sea, you can lift that and get a bit of support if you're on port tack. Okay. And then we've got whole big library we're building up slowly to all the significant polar books. And the woodwork, by the way, I should mention, this is all bamboo interior. This is all laminated bamboo, and they could actually, you know, make what looks like solid pieces, thick pieces of wood, but if you look closely, it's all small slats of bamboo, and bamboo is great. Super stable, super light, and very hard wearing, and of course it's environmentally friendly. So it's an inarguable, I think, the best material for woodwork in a boat today, no doubt about it. So this is great. So these leaves of the table fold up, so you got a continuous table going across here. And then we've got here the very functional galley, I have to say, with, you know, big high fiddles, so you can cook in this thing and you can put stuff down and it's not going to fall over the side. And all stainless steel. And another one of our particular custom features is a 2-burner. Only 2 burners, that's all you need. And we've made to fit 2 12-liter pressure cookers side by side. So, you know, when you're cooking for 12, 13, 14 people, you're not doing elaborate meals with 6 different courses. It's basically a pot of potatoes, rice, or pasta, and another pot with a sauce. Okay, so this is the way to go, and it's all gimbaled, obviously. And then underneath we've got a big 90-centimeter oven for the roasts and that type of stuff. So we've got a gas hob, electric oven, and then we've got the reflex heating system here, which we can also cook, have a kettle boiling away on that. And that's a fantastic thing. That's a diesel fishing boat stove from Denmark, reflex, and it's fed by a gravity fuel tank. No moving parts, really. Super detailed galley. The crew on board the boat, they're very good cooks, so they've put a lot of effort into the stowage of everything on this thing. And it's really, you know, pressure cooker lids accessible there. Take it off, put it on, like that. So very pleased with this. And you can get 3 people working in the galley, which is the point. And also here we've got a vegetable, cut up your vegetables, and the vegetable waste goes down into this bag arrangement, and you can take that out, and that goes outside into those lockers I showed you on deck for all the vegetable waste in those big 60-liter barrels. And a lot of stowage under the floor as well. There's going to be milk, UHT milk, juices, all sorts of things under there. So we got massive stowage under all this seating and behind the seating. So we can be autonomous for 2.5, almost 3 months in terms of provisions and fuel. And we've got our engine room here now. Take a look inside here. This is a beam-to-beam engine room. And this is a great, you know, massive headroom. Really easy to work on everything. We put a lot of effort into this. This was modeled by, 3D modeled by Ben Pim and with Mimtech. And it's, you know, everything is really super well thought out, that you can get at everything. Everything's been tested with a spanner, basically. And you don't have to dismantle 3 items to get at the one you want to get at, which is often the case. And we've got 2, it's a twin screw, 2 Yanmar 150 horse, obviously twin propellers and twin rudders. And then we've got a 9.5 kilowatt Onan genset. And on that side, that big red box, that's a Kabola diesel boiler. So that goes 24/7 to make hot water and fire the radiators everywhere as needed. Big water pumps and water maker on that side, and this is all your electrical side here. So it's very well done by KM Yachts, I have to say. They really know the correct level of what we want to do with a yacht like this, fit for purpose. Great. Well, this boat, as you can see, is very different from any other sailing boat of its size. It looks extremely different. I mean, everybody says when they look at it, oh my God, what is that? That's like, and as Tony Castro, the designer, says, he says, what's a beast? Well, basically it's for heavy weather, rough weather in remote areas, mainly high latitude, high north and high south, for supporting expeditions, which can be film teams, science projects, and some visitors and some tourism. We support alpinists, divers, kayak expeditions, a whole, gamut of things. And the boat is really sort of purpose-built for that job. And our first charter is going to be up in Svalbard this summer, going up to North Norway and then up to Svalbard to support a German geological expedition for a month. So we can stay out in the field for 1, 2, 2.5 months autonomously with fuel, provisions, have a water maker obviously, so we're totally self-sufficient. That is the key.
And what does, in the context of the sailing you do, what's luxury mean?
This is luxury for me. I mean, this boat is fairly plush interior by my standards, and it's warm and cozy. We've got a great heating system, and we've got a backup heating system, and we've got a great galley, 3 ways to cook meals, and radiators in every cabin, etc. So what more do you need?